Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Thanks for tuning in to the Visual Lounge, whether you're watching live or you're listening to the podcast. We're glad that you're here. And we're glad that you're here because we have a very important topic. This is they're all important, but one of the important topics because we do things every day that revolve around communication. And we have to communicate. We have to be able to share with people projects. We have to share with them results. We have to share with them things that are going on inside our organizations so that we can be successful and they can be successful. And we know there's always barriers to that. And today, we're going to be talking about how to work through some of those barriers to allow us to be more successful. We've got two awesome people with us that I'm going to introduce in just a second. And we're going to talk about it from our perspectives and just really have a conversation about it. So let me get to those introductions though. So when it comes to coworkers, I can tell you at TechSmith, we have an abundance of awesome. And Austin and David are absolutely no exception to this. David Patton has been a professional video editor in Los Angeles before joining TechSmith as part of our social media team and has been bringing the energy and enthusiasm since. He's held a variety of roles and now working with our creator and influencer community to help spread the love for Camtasia, Snagit, and all things TechSmith. Austin Norton joined TechSmith as part of our customer service team and has worked as a project manager for a variety of teams at TechSmith before landing as the marketing project manager. Well, somebody will say that right at some point. He loves helping people and solving problems, and he has become an essential member of the work that's happening at TechSmith, someone that I know I look to for a variety of reasons when it comes to managing projects. And both David and Austin, they're absolutely amazing. Both bring a huge amount of positive energy to the work we do. And I just feel blessed that I get to gain their insights and perspectives on the work I do, the projects, and a variety of things actually related to pop culture. So it's my pleasure to welcome David and Austin to the Visual Lounge. Hey guys.
Hello. Hey Matt. Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So let's real quick, because I try to compress a lot into those intros. We'll start with you, David. Is there anything else that you would want our audience to know about you before we get into the conversation about communicating better?
Well, I think you covered it. I was a former editor. I've been at TechSmith for 7 years now, and it's my pleasure to be able to work with you every day too, Matt. This is awesome to be here on the show.
Oh, awesome. Thanks. Austin, how about you? Anything that I missed that people should know about?
I think you covered pretty much my roles here at TechSmith, but yeah, I've sort of bounced around in project management from our development teams and now been working with marketing for about the last year, sort of helping them adopt some agile practices to align with the rest of the company. And it's been a blast working with you guys every day.
Yeah, we're having a good time if nothing else. So let's talk about this, because you guys, in your roles in particular, and this is the reason I want to talk to both of you, and they're very different types of roles, but there's a lot of communication that's happening both externally. David, I know you're doing a lot of that, but also internally. And Austin, your communication is, I'm guessing your job is mostly communicating with people and trying to figure out where things are at, what's happening. And communication is such a big deal, especially now that we're in this remote world. We're trying to figure out how to do this better. So let's kind of start high level. We know there's things to communicate about. So how is it that you are starting to make some early determinations of how you're going to communicate? And we can pick an example and talk through it, or just maybe you've got some general rules of thumb that say, I know if I'm going to communicate this way, because we have lots of options, right?
We do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead, Austin.
Oh, sure. Okay. So I was going to kind of jump in. For me, like you said, Matt, I do on the daily a ton of internal communication. And for me, it's if I find myself even starting to describe something that's a sentence or longer, I try to use a screenshot or a visual, just because I could do it justice and explain it, but it's just so much easier for someone to be able to look at the thing I'm seeing. So my Snagit library is full of just screenshots of our website, our products, anything that I'm trying to communicate with someone internally. This needs tweaking or just simply asking questions. So for me, anytime I try to explain something, I try to use an image.
Awesome. And David, what about you?
So when I'm doing like a big data share out, that's something that we're really big on here at TechSmith, right? We're generally a data-driven company. So we're asked to share out on our work. We're asked to share our data. I find those opportunities to make video share outs. And that's my preferred method. Back in the office, when we were all in an office, maybe we would be having a meeting and we'd be doing a PowerPoint presentation and we would be doing a share out with each other live. Now, remotely, I find that video shareouts are really excellent to kind of data dump, if you will, when you want to really share big ideas, a lot of data. You can walk through your PowerPoint in a video, and it's great because in a video, people can watch it anytime. So I love being able to put the data out there, the video out there, putting it on Slack, maybe popping it in an email, and people can watch it at their own pace. And that's something that I've really started doing more in these pandemic days when we're all working remotely.
Yeah. So we have two kind of different paths here. Like, so let's pick one to go down for a little bit, and then we can talk about the other one. Let's start with the image stuff because David, I know you're not unfamiliar with using images. So as you're looking at this, Austin, the first question that comes to mind, I can hear someone thinking, and it's probably me thinking, is, well, because I get in the situation, I write long emails and long responses, and how do you go about kind of deciding that, like, okay, yeah, like, yes, if it's going to be longer in a sense, I want to use an image, I want to use a visual. Screenshots work great if it's screen content. But, how do you know that that's going to work better than, my long prose kind of email? Because I put a lot of description into my words, Austin.
Yeah, I think that we are just in such a sort of visual society now that I just default to that. You can always expound or elaborate on something after you send an image, like, hey, do you know where this is? Or do you know who owns this section of the website, or anything like that? And they could, come back and say, oh, I'm not sure. And then, maybe have a conversation about it. But a lot of time it's as easy as, for me, I have ton of hotkeys for Snagit. So I can quickly just hit a hotkey, capture an image, it's on my clipboard, paste it into Slack, and then ask the question. And I can get the answer really quickly. But yeah, I think I just start there rather than start with a 2-paragraph email and then them saying, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Okay, let me take a screenshot and send it to you. I kind of go the other way. Start with a screenshot. If they're unsure or there's still discussion to be had, then go from there.
Yeah. So, okay, so you've got it, made it easy. You're going to just grab whatever's, because you're dealing with a lot of things that are like internal systems. You're dealing with product stuff, so that makes sense. Do you find that screenshots or visuals, you're using it for like other types of things? Like if it's not just an immediate like, where's this picture? what kind of things are you like? How do I find the right image? And maybe David, if you have thoughts on this as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of times even an image that, if I'm talking about something on our website, even if there's something missing, just calling out, taking a screenshot and drawing a box around an empty spot even helps, rather than saying like, hey, on that product page about halfway down, like there's a weird space. Do you know what's supposed to be there? Is there an image missing? Like simply just taking a screenshot and a box. So even though there's nothing there, it's communicating what I'm talking about.
When I think of taking screenshots, I make an analogy that it's a lot like taking pictures, right? Like imagine someone who's always taking great pictures. They're a photographer. And we all have phones in our pocket. We all have the ability to take pictures. But the difference between a picture taker, like myself, and a photographer is a photographer knows when to whip out their phone and take that photograph. This is a moment happening. Take a picture. Oh, that's a moment happening. Take a picture. Oh, that's really beautiful. Take a picture. There are some folks who know to get out their camera and take a picture at the exact right moment. And that's, I think, like 90% of being a great photographer is just knowing the moment and capturing it. Once you start getting in the habit of screen capturing things, it almost becomes second nature to you, just like that photographer who knows when to take out their phone and take a picture. So you're typing an email, and at least for me, what triggers it for me is when I start typing instructions. For me, when I go, okay, 1, 2, immediately my mind starts going, well, if I could just take a picture and put in arrows, and maybe even numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, that is something that's very common for me, that now it's just like second nature. It's just like breathing. Just like when you think, oh, this would be a great time to write up an email real quick. Now it's, when do I take a screenshot? And we kind of live in this multi-channel world, right? Where you've got Slack, you've got email, you have text messages kind of blowing up your desk every day if you're like me, and you've got all these various things. And so I think we already have this level of figuring out what is the best method of communication for certain things. Okay, this is a Slack message. This is an email. Same with screenshots. Oh, this is a screenshot. This is text.
Yeah. Well, I'm hearing a couple things I just want to kind of extract from what I've heard from the both of you so far is one, Austin, I'm hearing like, it's got to be easy. It's got to be convenient for you or you're not going to do it. So the hotkeys and stuff like that. And then just trying to simplify, always try to simplify, make it as clear as possible. And then David, I love this idea that you're going to have to learn when it's going to make the right communication better. But the other thing I want to add to that is I have a friend. He's been a journalist for, I don't know, forever, but he's gotten into photography and he goes to concerts. He's been at these really big like Bonnaroo and these big events and does photography. And he posted some. He lives in Montana, so the things that he shoots are a variety of things. He was at a rodeo, and he's got this amazing shot where the horse is off the ground and all this stuff. And there was the comment that interests me about what you said, David, is someone's like, that's an amazing shot. He's like, yeah, it was hard to find because he took so many, like it was so rapid fire shots that when he was going through it, he was able to find that shot because he took so many. And I think maybe there's some truth to that too, right? It's like, as you're learning to communicate with visuals, as you're using images, you might have to take a bunch of screenshots and figure out which ones are gonna improve. Because the other thing I heard you guys both talk about is like the enhancement. It's not just that you have a screenshot; it's that you've enhanced the screenshot, an arrow, a box, something to draw attention to the audience. Because I know I can take screenshots all day long, but oftentimes if I'm looking at it, I don't know what to look at. What's the point, right?
Absolutely. I think we all probably take a lot of screenshots, but and I've made some pretty complex screenshots. But like for me, I know that if you were to look in my Snagit tray, 90% of my Snagits would have the red arrow on them. Like the red arrow is my best friend. I use that everywhere. Take an image, look here. Take an image, look there. Highlight this thing. That's what I find myself going to. That's my go-to all the time. And just going back to that photography kind of analogy, think about how many times this happens to me quite a bit, right? Because I try to bring out my camera and capture the shot. And there's always the people who are like, that I'm with that are like, oh, can you send me that photo after? Can you send me that? It's like, or you get out your camera to take a picture and then you see someone else next to you get out their cameras and take a picture. So it's just that knowing. And it's a learned behavior of learning when to take a photo. Oh, this is a photo. Same with screenshots. After a while, you'll start, maybe you're the first in your organization or your company that's taking screenshots. And I bet you will start to see screenshots maybe pop up as other people start to experiment with it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, knowing when to take the screenshot, but then, figuring out what speaks to people as far as it does a screenshot alone work, doesn't need an arrow, and then kind of additionally, how to share it. Am I just putting it in a clipboard and pasting it into Slack? Or if it's something that maybe I know the person I'm sending it to is going to need to share it, or if it's a very detailed screenshot, I want them to be able to zoom, I'll throw it to Screencast and then give them a link. So then they can just copy and paste that or get on, pull it up and zoom in on it and whatnot. So it's definitely a learned skill of figuring out, when to use a screenshot, what to include, but then also even how to share it.
Yeah. Well, and I think the fundamentals of good communication apply here, right? Like you got to have a message, you got to have a purpose, you got to have, you got to understand your audience, and all these things apply. But then we're just saying simplify that message with the images, which I love what you guys are saying. I think this is great, and so hopefully anyone watching or listening will give that a go if they're not. I want to transition a little bit because I think video is a little bit more complicated here. Like I think it's pretty easy. Like if there's an image that you could share it, right? Makes sense. I want to talk about video because we at TechSmith use a lot of video internally in our communications, and it feels like there's immediately when I say the word video, for a lot of people, there's this big barrier. Like they're thinking about big production. They're thinking about like what you're going to put on YouTube, what you're going to put out for your customers. And I want to push kind of all that aside for our conversation, because that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about videos that you might share with your coworkers or internally that are not necessarily videos that are high quality, professional, or even training videos, right? Maybe it's got a training element or a learning element, but it's not meant to be like your corporate training. So Dave, you mentioned at the kind of the top when you're talking about how you're communicating, you're using a lot of videos, you're doing these data dumps and things like that. Maybe just walk us through, give us a sense of what that might look like in terms of the video you're going to create.
Yeah. Well, first, let me just say that getting into video for workplace communication during the pandemic when everybody is remote is like the best time to get into video. We are all now so accustomed to seeing each other on a screen at home. I've got this background up. I'm in my bedroom. Like we've all seen each other's bedrooms, living rooms. We've seen each other casual. We've seen each other, like more dressy. I mean, like the barriers and the formality of the workplace, I think, has like really, evolved in the last year. I think it's for the better.
Wait a second. You exist outside of a screen?
This is
You're
true.
real?
This is true. Although I haven't seen you guys for a year in real life, yeah. I mean, like, so, but like we're more comfortable with each other in a lot of ways, right? Like in some ways, it's more intimate. We're all in our homes and everything. So this is like a great time to kind of get over the idea of like being on someone else's screen, because I think we've all had to get over the hurdle of appearing on someone else's screen, right?
Yeah. Well, I love that. I love that concept. So, because I think you're absolutely right. So, okay, so Dave, you're going to make a video for to share out.
I'm gonna make a video.
Generally, what does that look like? Because I think there's a lot of people who are like, well, how does that even work? What does that look like?
Okay. This
Before Dave
right
starts,
here. Yeah.
he's famous in TechSmith, not even just in the marketing department. I think we need to set the stage that he is famous for his video share outs. So
Okay,
if there's
I
anyone to
think
learn
very
from,
good.
it's Dave.
No pressure, Dave.
So no pressure. Okay. So I just hope the viewers are ready for this. Do you want to see what my share out looks like? It's this. This is my exact setup. I sit in front of this screen and I talk to the camera. And I think there's a beauty in that and a simplicity in it, right? Because a data share out, I love making share outs. Like I said, in a past life, I'm a video editor, right? So I love like editing, video share outs and communicating via video. But the setup doesn't have to be anything fancy, right? It's where I'm at. And I have a microphone and I'm talking to the camera. So how I would make a video share out and how I've made my video share outs, fairly simple at a high level. I think about what I want to say and I open a document and I just make some bullet points of the topics of what I want to say. So I make sure that I know what I'm going to talk about and I just think about that a little bit. Then I'm more comfortable with Camtasia. And the reason I'm comfortable with it is because I can let it run and I can let all my outtakes happen. So I just sit in front of the camera and I converse with it and I talk and I try to think about what I'm going to say with the data. And then I ramble for about 30 to 40 minutes. And I'm not even joking. And I take really long pauses in the middle and I think about what I'm going to say next. And I kind of do silly things in front of the camera because I know they're going to get cut later. And I really have to just get into this zone where I can let down my hesitations and my defenses. And at that point, I just kind of keep rolling, keep going. And when I feel like I've just given everything I can, I turn it off, I go into Camtasia, and then I just cut. And, I'll often go 40 minutes for like a 7 to 10 minute video. I just cut everything out. I try to get it as fast as possible. And then, put on some finishing touches and that's about it. I don't know if that's what you're looking for, Matt, but like that's at a really high level. It's just about getting in the zone to communicate some data. And, when it comes to communicating data, some of it's interesting If you're lucky, you have interesting data, but a lot of time data can be boring. So it's about finding that happy medium of where I can try to present. I may not be able to change the boringness of the data. So what I can change is how interesting I can make it for you to listen to, if that makes sense.
No, that makes so much sense. And because I've got a lot of questions about that, but I want to make sure we get a good juxtaposition here, because all of a sudden you spend an hour plus 2 hours making this share out that's 7 to 10 minutes. That's probably really important, but maybe not gonna move the needle on a lot of things, right? But it's important. We want to make sure it gets out there.
Sure.
So Austin, is that I'm guessing that's your process too, right? You spend on every video you're going to make, you're going to spend this long.
Definitely not. So as Dave was saying, I was like, this is great. I do something completely different. So a lot of the videos I make, we work with a third-party graphic design company that does a lot of our graphic arts work. And so I'm the person to kind of communicate with their project manager on what it is that we're asking and what we need from them. And so I will simply just bring up a few images on my screen, prepare that, and then I usually just even use a Snagit video recorder because it's what I'm used to. Use my hotkey, start a video recording, and I try to keep them 2 minutes or less, because if I go longer, I just ramble on. So I just try to keep it short and sweet. Walk through, we want this icon, but I'll hover my mouse around. We want this change. We want to incorporate the new colors, et cetera. Put it on screencast, send it to them. And when I fill out the project form, all I'm saying is, hey team, we have a new project. Here's the explanation. And I give them a link, and I could spend probably twice the time writing a whole description, making sure that it makes sense, making sure that I didn't have any typos, anything like that. Or I just make a 2 or 3 minute video, send it to them, because that way it's easy for our account manager then to grab that video and then send it to the actual designer doing the work, and they can hear it straight from me, what the request is, and not kind of have to read between the lines of what I've written. So that's kind of my style, is just kind of the quick and dirty type explanation videos versus the polished comedy share-outs that Dave blesses us with.
Well, that's interesting, Austin, because a data share out is different than communicating, right? Like a communication with a third party or something. Like the video is being used for different things. But I think there was something in there that you had mentioned that really struck a chord with me about the rambling on, because I certainly ramble on. That's why I kind of take all that time. And for me, that ability to ramble on is actually a pressure release. It's a release valve for me, so I don't feel like I have to be perfect on the first take. I realize that I can play around, I can find it, and because if I felt like if I had to do it in one take, I would kind of maybe be a little more uptight, a little more formal. I might, I try to inject some humor into it. I might kind of forget my humor, and I would be so concentrated on getting it right. So for me, letting it go, letting it be freewheeling and knowing that I can just cut that all out later, allows me to relax.
I think I want to see some of these outtakes, more outtakes of what Dave cuts to the floor. But
okay, can I mention outtakes? I have thoughts on outtakes. Careful with your use of outtakes, because you could put a lot of work into something, and the only feedback you'll get is, boy, I love those outtakes. And you're like, no, did you listen? Did you listen to anything? Did you see anything else? The first comment you'll get will be, I loved the outtakes. So I was like, well, okay, of course. So I don't do outtakes anymore.
Well, I want to bring up here, because so we got these. I don't want to say it's two ends of a spectrum, because I think it's really probably there's more of a circle and just different kind of points on the circle. There's lots of different ways to make these videos, but I think thinking about the outcomes, the things that you're trying to do, and I've got a question here we're going to ask from the audience in just a second. But I love thinking about, like, Austin, you're very, like, your purpose of that video, and this, I think purpose is in any communication is really important here, especially when you're doing this. But it seems like that I'm trying to communicate and get you to do X, Y, Z. Like, I need these things done. Whereas with Dave, your videos are a little bit longer, a little bit meatier. It's much more. I want you to know about this. I want you to think about this, and maybe there's some outcome of like, how do we incorporate this into, the rest of marketing or the rest of the company? How do they take advantage of it? But it's a very different type of communications like outcome we're hoping for. And I think it's so I like making these juxtapositions and kind of these looking at them differently, because understanding that Dave, you may also at some point make a 2-minute video that is very directive, and Austin could make a bigger share out video. It's not like that's Austin style and that's Dave's style and they only ever do that, right? Like, it's understanding the purpose of your video and how what you're trying to accomplish, what you're trying to do, when you're going to do it. And frankly, even because Dave, I've made longer videos that are share outs like that, and sometimes it's just constrained by the amount of time I have. Well, I've got 30 minutes to spend on this. I'm only going to spend 30 minutes, and therefore I'm not going to maybe do as many ramblings or stopping and thinking. I'm just going to say it. And oftentimes I then make a mistake, and then I just have to be like, oops, I made a mistake.
We all make mistakes. I'll make mistakes with the big long ones as well. I mean, and I think when it comes to, making a longer share out, when it comes to, okay, I'm going to make a video where the only purpose of this video is to have the audience watch it. Maybe they'll absorb some information from it, but it'll be out there for their reference. Maybe it could even be for their enjoyment. If I work really hard, I could try to make it enjoyable. The amount of time you put into it, you have to lean into who you are, right? And as a person, and as a former editor, I love to put a lot of polish on it. I like to, spend my time and sanding the edges and trying to make like just a really nice video. That's because that's my style and that's what I feel comfortable with. And I think everyone can hold up a mirror and think about, okay, what part of my workplace personality do I want to put into this video, right? And lean into that. Hey, if I'm a person who is really good at delivering data, and I'm actually really quite good at speaking, like I'm not a great PowerPoint speaker in general, so I need video to kind of be able to edit out my mistakes. But there's a lot of people who are excellent at giving a PowerPoint slide presentation, and I say, well, you don't have to make a highly edited, polished video. Why don't you just lean into your already existing strengths and make like a PowerPoint presentation just on camera? You're already really good at that. Or you're someone who's very conversational and you have a conversational style. So just turn on the camera and converse. Some people don't love being on camera. It's not their favorite thing. So maybe turn your camera off and just do, screen video. I make, maybe videos with a lot of editing, and where I condense them into hopefully like, interesting videos. You can do your own thing, and as long as it reflects your personality, I think that'll really shine through.
Yeah, I think fitting the brand of your organization, fitting within your own personal brand is even at work, it's really important. So I want to ask this question from our friend Garth. He's got 2 questions here. We'll start with the first one. How do you know if people have read or watched your content? So in either case, it's really important, like giving the directives or, you're getting people to share. How do you make sure that they've actually done that? Because you made a video. If they don't watch it, then what?
Yeah, I think, that's sort of a risk you take, but also did they read the email that you sent or read it fully? You're never sure. There's certain like we use Nomia, so you can see how many views your video got. We a lot of times will turn on conversations, so there can be discussion happening, not for people to prove that they watched a video, but to be able to interact and ask questions. And I think that's something that TechSmith has done really well over the last year. For me, I schedule a lot of meetings for the marketing department, and I kind of ask myself before I schedule a meeting, like, is this an informative meeting or is this collaborative? If it's informative, whoever, is it me or is it someone else, sharing out some information, let's make a video and not have to bring 30 some people into a Zoom call at the same time to basically watch a video. We can send out the video, have them watch it at their leisure so they don't have to stop what they're working on. So that's what I would say. If you really do care or need to know if people watched your video, use a hosting service that will tell you if someone watched it. For for Nomia, it'll go as deep as telling you what percent people watched, or you can just generally track views.
Yeah, so just real quick, for those who don't know what Nomia is, TechSmith Nomia Pro, you can go check it out at techsmith.com. It's got video hosting, you can add quizzing, you can do these conversations, which it's interesting. I want to boil kind of what you said down to, it's build in some accountability if it needs accountability, right? Like I think, and we've got videos where we've definitely been told, you need to watch this before this meeting, but I love that approach. Is it collaborative? Is it informative? If it's informative, can we lean towards it being information shared? Because in this communication, like the reason we want to communicate better is save people time to make the message clear, right? And that's clearly going to be a time saving. Because I like meetings or watching videos at 1.5 speed.
Right.
Oh yeah, that's the best. 1.5 is the best for everything.
Well, let's go on to Garth's. Go ahead, David.
I have something on Garth's first question. So I'm a marketer, right? So I relate to this, Garth. I'm thirsty for them likes all the time. I'm a marketer, okay? And so there's nothing I can relate to more than pouring your heart, your soul, your vulnerability, your foibles of maybe making a video, working through something, really laying it all out there, pressing send, and crickets. Just nobody cares. You work with like 5 people and like nobody has said anything to you about your video. We've all been there. And what I've had to learn, and it's really something that, and it's really hard at first because like I say, that first time you do it, you're putting your everything into it. But what you have to learn is to disassociate the views and the feedback and them likes from the quality of work that you did and the quality of work that you put out there. Because we are inundated daily with emails and video links and stuff to watch, and there's never-ending stream of things. And so I've had to learn to not take it personally in that sense. I've had to learn to say, okay, it's been 2 hours, I haven't gotten any likes, but like to chill and to remember that people take their time. That's one of the benefits of video is people can watch it at their own pace. And so all I could suggest would be some recommendations, right? Which is I don't post my video shareouts on a Friday because everyone on a Friday is ready to just get on with it, and have a great weekend. And that might not be the best time to pop in the video share. I like to put in video shares early in the morning as opposed to the afternoon, giving people all day to watch it if they felt like it and responding to it. These are simple little things, but again, I'm a marketer. I can't not think about these things. Where are you posting it? Do people in your organization read email, or are people in your organization on Slack? So if everybody's on Slack, don't send it in an email, vice versa, right? And explain what the video is about. One of the first lessons I learned at TechSmith from a colleague, Daniel Foster, is always put the length of your video with the title of the video. Dave's share out in parentheses 5:22. Dave's share out part 2 1.22. Let people know what they're clicking into, because we've all been there where you're like, look at my quick share out, and you click on it, it's like 37 minutes. Oh man, I thought they said this was a quick share out. Like tell everybody how quick your share out is, let them know what they're getting into, and then they'll compartmentalize it. Oh, that's a 10-minute share out, I'll save it for the afternoon. Oh, that's a 1:22, I'll just watch it right now. And you're disassociating yourself from getting all of that feedback. But if all else fails, and this is for, back when we're all in the office, you can always just ask people like, hey, did you watch my video? Hey, what did you think of my video? Did you get a chance to watch it? It's kind of a brave thing to do. You have to be prepared for either answer. But this is 100% the response you're going to get. No, I haven't watched it yet, but I will. And you're like, cool, thanks. And it's just that little gentle, hey, have you watched it yet? Oh, I will though. Cool. Let me know what you think when it's done. Because it's one thing to create video in a vacuum and to say like, oh, I've got no inhibitions. I want to, make a video. I really want to connect with the audience. Once it is out there though, I would like a little feedback. So I totally understand, Garth, and having something like a Nomia, I mean, or even like a YouTube, right, like where you can see views and stuff. I mean, we're human beings. We want to know that people cared about what we did.
Well, I want to add real quick before we get to Garth's next question was one, I think you can also, depending on your role in your organization, you can specify like, hey, this is required. I really need you need to watch this. Some people can't do that, right? Like if you're low on the totem pole, you might be like, I can't ask people, I can't tell people to watch it. And then I'll just say, I'll share my experience recently because I did one of these share out videos as well. And it's, it's all about the TechSmith Academy. And we love the TechSmith Academy. Go check out theacademy.techsmith.com if you haven't. Free learning. And I was doing this share out and
Matt, and this is an internal share out, right? This is like just for TechSmithies.
Just
internal.
for TechSmithies.
Sorry, yeah, internal. Okay.
And particularly for the marketing department, and I'm not trying to call out my marketing department colleagues, but I think like 4 people had watched after like multiple days. And I was talking to our vice president and I'm like, look, I wrote because it was introducing this like whole big document that like, had all this data that they could use to help them in marketing about the academy. And I'm just like, no one's watching it. And she's just like, we have a little budget for like food and entertainment. What if you do a giveaway? And so I put out there, we gave away 3 like just $10 gift cards for Starbucks. And let me tell you, like I think everybody watched it. and like I couldn't make them watch it, but there are ways to incentivize. And I think, so I loved all the things that you just said, David. And I also think that the fact that if you build a reputation of having good worthwhile videos, maybe I've done the opposite. But like with your videos, Dave, people want to watch your video. They're excited when it comes out because they know it's going to be good information, but it's also going to be something that they can enjoy. So I think that's maybe some other points.
And it's probably interesting for folks to understand too that like we've got a Matt Pierce quality level share out that he designed for 30 people internally. I mean, like what a wealth of riches we have here at TechSmith, and like nobody was watching it at that moment. And it's just like that's mind boggling. And I wanted one of the Starbucks gift cards, so thanks, Matt. I appreciate that.
Well, thanks for watching that video. It made me feel good.
It was great.
Okay, next question here. Do you, David or Austin, have a central location where people post shareouts? And we kind of talked a little bit about that. A repository for future use where anyone can place info, or are these one and done type communications? I think it's kind of interesting, right, to think about that. Like, how are we distributing this, and how do you make that easy? Because I want to just put out there first, I don't know that we've nailed this. I think we've got a start, but I think this is a tough. So Austin, let's get your perspective as a project manager, because you're dealing with information flow all the time.
Yeah, so I'll start with something new that we've tried that hasn't quite fully taken off, but because marketing does so many share outs, because we found that rather than schedule meetings for people to do these presentations, making a video is more effective, both for the person creating it and then for the rest of us to absorb it. We started a Slack channel that's just called like marketing share outs. And so whenever someone has a share out, they post there and say, hey, marketing team, I have a new share out. Here it is. That way, that's kind of just starting, a scrolling library of these share outs that have been created. So that's something new we've just been doing a few weeks now. But other than that, I talked about Nomia before. But within Nomia, in the libraries, you can have collections. And so for different things, we have different collections for just the marketing team, or for, every 10 weeks, we spend a couple weeks just working on innovation projects. And so we have a library of all of these share outs from people that just spend a week and a half, 2 weeks, innovating on creative ideas. And so, we can say, a new idea comes up, or we think it's a new idea, and we're like, oh, actually, so-and-so did an innovation project on that like last year, and we can go to that library and pull up their video and kind of get a jump start on that feature or whatever it was. So we use Nomia libraries a lot. Trying to think of others. Yeah, Slack and Nomia are kind of the main 2 that come to my mind right now.
Yeah, it definitely feels like there's still work to be done there, and just kind of like there's not just a SharePoint page where you can go and you can see all the past share outs. But I do think I think having those kind of like known places works pretty well. I want to talk about one way that we do get a lot of information out pretty quickly that's changed, especially during the last year. And it's none of us are doing this, but in terms of like running it, so we won't take credit for it. But I want to talk about what we call our Monday morning meetings. Because I think, so just I'll set some context and I just want to chat about this for a second. So every Monday morning, for the most part, TechSmith as a company has always gotten together as an entire company to talk about whatever important things. There's important information being shared. We actually celebrate each other. Like there's what we call recognitions that happen during and now it's only half an hour meeting each week. So every Monday, people are getting together and doing presentations. And one of the changes that has happened since we've gone remote, first of all, we all went remote. So it's not like people are gathering in like a room or several rooms across campus. We're all remote. And more people are making video shares rather than getting up and being live. And if you've watched the Visual Lounge, I probably say too much. Like if you could edit this, you could probably cut out 20 minutes just of me prattling on about stuff that you don't, just like the section of things I just said, right? Like, so let's talk about this. Cause I think from going kind of back to Garth's question, like one of the ways we make sure like super important information gets shared out is it makes its way to that level, right? Like we've said that as an all company, we're going to share this information and we're going to put it in front of everybody's eyeballs, whether they watch it Monday morning live or they watch it, when they're available. Cause I know, sometimes you're not available at 8:30 on a Monday morning for, you're on vacation or you got kids to deal with, or you just had a crappy morning and things aren't working well. Your car broke down, whatever it might be, right? So from your guys' perspective, how does that change kind of the communication that you're doing or you're receiving?
So I really like that the Monday morning meeting is like an all hands meeting, right? And at a lot of organizations, there's an all hands meeting. It may not be every single Monday. Some people do them Friday, some people do them sporadically, right? But whenever it's an all hands meeting, the live version when we were at TechSmith was in a room. We would pass a microphone around. We would record it with a video camera from the back to create a video of it so people could watch it later if they needed to, right? And it was a mixture of like PowerPoint presentation speaking, live speaking, passing the mic around, and maybe I would say 30% video, where it would be like, okay, now we're going to play a video, and then play the video. Now that we're doing it all virtually, it feels like that ratio has changed a little bit. I would say that we're probably at like a 50-50 at this point now, where for 30 minutes, 15 of those minutes, on average, give or take, seem to be video share-outs, whereas before it was less. And ultimately, all the information is delivered via video now. There was never anybody in a room together. So the whole medium has really changed and shifted to become an online-only experience, a video experience exclusively at this point, which is really cool because I sense in the current iteration of our meetings that, and I know this for myself, there seems to be this less fear of public speaking that is happening kind of before our eyes. I mean, before, I am speaking at the Monday morning meeting, you got to get ready, you got to be ready to stand up, have a microphone, now we're all at home, we're in our home offices, we're talking directly into the camera, and the tenor of the conversation has become less presentational and more just conversational, if that makes sense. And that's one of the cool things and what's really awesome about our meetings is that the video is immediately available, like within 10 minutes after the meeting. So lately, it's been difficult to get the kids out the door and make that 8:30 meeting on a Monday morning. Now I know I can stroll in after that and watch the recording right away, and I get to watch it on 1.5, which is the best.
Yeah. So one thing that's been interesting, because I've spoken in numerous of these meetings for lots of different reasons, and I also do a lot of public speaking. I go to conferences. Yep. I've had audiences of like 1,000 to much smaller. And
you're the face of TechSmith.
Well, I don't know about that, but so I've had a lot of audiences, and I get nervous like everybody. But the hardest audience, the one I get most nervous, has always been my coworkers at TechSmith, because like, I don't know if it's just this expectation thing or it's like, they know me, so they know the mistakes I'm gonna make. But I really do appreciate that I can just, on that Monday morning when I have to present, and I did this recently, I had a video, I was able to say, here you go, and I don't have to stress on a Monday morning that I'm gonna say something wrong. I don't have to like watch my words any longer, because I can take care of that in the video. So I appreciate like that. And then I love the fact that we can, I can save people time, because I can make a 5-minute video instead of talking inevitably for 10.
Right. I love that. The time savings is awesome. And again, I mean, I joke about the 1.5, but like, you can't turn on live public speaking to 1.5. But I think what we've identified a little bit is that, in a share out context, when you're just receiving information, you can receive it faster. You can receive it at the 1.5. So, any meetings that were just share outs, which our all hands meetings typically are, that's what they're designed for. It works really well on video, because then you can consume it as fast as you like and on your own schedule.
Absolutely. Well, gentlemen, this has been a fantastic conversation. I want to get to our speed round questions, which is, if you haven't been watching lately, this is something that we're doing that's new. Any final thoughts about improving communication using images or videos that we didn't get to that you'd like to share? I know it's always the question, putting people on the spot with those hard questions.
I think Dave hit on it, but really just in this, really full, for most people or a lot of people in our industry, remote world now, is that like the barrier to entry now is so low. Like Dave just said, you're doing a presentation for a large audience or a small audience. It's the same. You're recording to your computer. You're looking into a camera. You can use a software like Camtasia and make some edits and polish it if you want, or you can simply just use Snagit and talk through what you need to talk through. Don't even rewatch it. Maybe rewatch the first 5 seconds to make sure your mic was working. Send it up to a hosting service and send it out. So there's so many options, kind of like the quick and dirty, or if you do need to polish it, but it's so easy to do that, why wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
That's an awesome point. I would just want to reemphasize that, there's this big hurdle to creating video. And Matt kind of mentioned this when he was talking about the hardest audience to please sometimes is this like coworkers you have. It could be 5 coworkers, it could be 10 coworkers on your team, it could be the whole company. And one thing that I think and you'll only believe it once you try it, is that your coworkers already know you. They're very forgiving. They are okay with all of your mistakes. They've already seen all your mistakes. It's been a year of us all on camera with each other. I mean, there's nothing that you're going to reveal in a video that they don't already know. So go for it. Trust your coworkers to be gracious and kind, and they're not going to watch your video with like an extra critical eye. They're going to be gracious about it, and they're your coworkers, they're your team, and they want you to succeed as well, right? So I think sometimes even I forget that, right? I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this has to be perfect for everybody, and then you put it out there in the world and everyone is just super cool, super kind. Maybe that's just a testament to my awesome coworkers, but see for yourself, try it.
Yeah, no, I think that's great advice. And I think that's your last thing, try it, is really key here with all communications. We want people to go and try this, right? Go try putting some images in your emails or whatever, your Slack messages, or however you're communicating. Go try making some videos. And, we didn't talk much about the time. We talked a little bit about time savings, but I think, people will find that as you make more videos, you get faster. Your coworkers, people receiving the message, again, they can get through that faster. So it really does save time and effort. So thank you both. Really appreciate you guys taking time to share some of your experiences. We're gonna move to speed round, but before we do that, I just want to mention, if you're listening to the podcast, you're watching on YouTube, we'd love to get your comments, thoughts, reviews. Subscribe if that's the thing, whatever platform you're on. We'd love to have that. And of course, if you have questions, thoughts, suggestions, you want to email us, you can email us at thevisuallounge@techsmith.com. Happy to hear what you guys have to say. Also take suggestions for topics for future shows. So, okay. David and Austin, are you ready? I have specific questions, so I will say your name so you know it's addressed to you.
Oh, thank you.
Ready.
David, easy one. Who is the most powerful Jedi?
Ooh, I'm gonna say Ahsoka.
All right.
For now, I'm gonna say
Austin,
Ahsoka.
what's your go-to golf club?
I'm gonna say a 9-iron.
I have no idea what that means, but that sounds great.
I have no idea who that Jedi was that Dave just named. So
You know what? I just realized I gave a terrible answer because Ahsoka is no Jedi. But forgive me.
David, one thing you learned as a professional video editor that everyone needs to know to make their videos better.
When in doubt, cut it out.
Awesome. Austin, what's a skill or attribute that makes someone successful at project management?
I would say being attentive and aware of what people are dealing with.
Nice. David, I mean, you make some pretty exciting and sometimes over-the-top videos. What's one indicator that helps you know if you've taken it too far or not far enough? And I'm talking about like your internal kind of like, not what we think, but internally what you think.
I do have my manager review the video before I release it to everybody. And I'm very open in letting them know that they will be my best friend if they please give me some harsh feedback first. Help me, save me. Let me know if I've gone too far.
Nice. And feedback, such an important piece of it. Austin, what's a communication mistake you wish people would stop making?
Ooh, I'm gonna say in-person communication in Zoom having terrible audio.
All
Makes
right.
it hard to understand people.
What was that, Austin?
What
What is that?
It's a speed round. I won't expound on that, but
and we've got plenty of other resources you can go check out about getting good audio, including in the TechSmith Academy, academy.techsmith.com. So, final thing I'll ask you guys for either one of you. One of the things I've been trying to do is ask my guests because I ask a lot of questions and I put you guys on the spot. So, is there a question that you would want to ask me?
Matt, Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Should we be hyped?
Absolutely. I mean, how could we not? I mean, just things are going to be moving forward. There's going to be new introduction of characters. I don't know. For those that watching, I'm a huge, I love comic books, even though I haven't read nearly as many as I was mostly as a kid, but there's comic books right over here on the wall. But I think, why not, right? Like, I was watching that Eternals trailer, and I don't know anything about them, but it looks amazing, and I'm super excited to see where they're going to take it. There'll probably be some screw-ups along the way, but why not? It'll be great.
Awesome.
All right.
Matt.
Any other? Austin.
what's your favorite presentation you've ever done?
My favorite presentation, I will have to say, is probably, and only because of the audacity that I thought that it was a good idea at the time, is 50 tips for video in a 1 hour, like 50-minute presentation. And the thing is, I love it because it's rapid fire, and I think people come to it just because they think it's ridiculous, and it kind of is. But it's actually the one presentation I have been repeatedly asked. I think I give it at least once or twice a year, and it's been since about 2015 or 2016. So it's a halfway decent presentation that is just, I think it's super fun, and it's really stupid. Please don't make presentations that have 50 things to be done in 50 minutes. No one should
When do you take
that.
a breath? Follow-up question. When do you breathe during that presentation?
Well, you have to look at the time, and you're like, I better go through these next 5 really fast because I don't have time to get to the last couple. Or like, I better slow down here. I'm moving a little quickly. I didn't say much. So anyways, I just want to thank you guys once again for tuning in. If you guys have thoughts about communication that have been listening or watching the show, go check out the TechSmith blog. We've got TechSmith Academy. We've got lots of resources that are out there to make you guys more successful. And if you do need tools, of course, TechSmith's got Snagit and Camtasia to help you do all of this. With that said, we want to thank, again, David, Austin, welcome. Thank you for coming on the show. And with that said, we will be with you guys next week. We got another TechSmithy. Watch out. Sherry Powers, Vice President of Marketing, on the Visual Lounge, talking about how she uses video to help lead us. And it should be a good one. So we will talk to you guys, if I can find my exit slide here.
Thanks, Matt.
Well, we will see you guys all next week. Take care.